Welcome, everyone. People are just starting to check in. My name is David Lepoff. I'm the project manager at IED Rec, which is the non-for-profit research center of IED Madrid, the Instituto Europeo de Design. And welcome to the Re-FREAM Garden. We are here today with Elisabeth Jayot, who is one of the finalists of the Re-FREAM project of the first call. Elisabeth and I go back a little bit to the Worth project, where I first became familiar with her work. Very, let's say, sustainability informed, very interesting ways of approaching fashion from the vision of sustainability. Just a few words about Re-FREAM. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, Re-FREAM belongs to the StartsEu initiative, which is a European program for research and innovation. And in this case, Re-FREAM is a co-research and co-creation pilot, which invites artists and designers to couple with technicians and scientists to bring about new models, new processes for the manufacturing side of the fashion industry. And so the program basically gives access to designers and artists, opens the doors to some of the world's most amazing labs. And so for Re-FREAM, there are 3 different scientific hubs in 3 different European cities. Hub Berlin, from analog to connected, dealing with the integration of electronics into textiles. Then we have Hub Linz, from 2D to 3D, dealing with additive manufacturing. And then Hub Valencia, based in Alcoy at ITEX, for linear to sustainable circular systems, dealing primarily with eco-innovative finishing techniques. And this is the hub that we are hosting today at ARS ELECTRONICA. And so the first call of Re-FREAM has just come to a close. Elisabeth was one of the 10 chosen finalists, and she's been working for 9 months with blending her vision with some of these technologies. And so we're lucky enough to be able to show you, to have her here with us and to show you her final project presentation. So Elisabeth, I'm going to pass the word over to you, and maybe you can just, the name of Elisabeth's project is Fragments Garments. And so good morning, Elisabeth. Welcome.
Hi, thanks, David. Hi, everyone. So, as he said, I'm Elisabeth Jayot. I'm a French fashion designer. I'm based in Paris. And during the past 9 months, I work mainly with 3 partners, 2 in Spain, Care Application and ITEX, and 1 in Austria, Profactor. And together we worked on the Fragments Garments project, which is about seamless modular clothing. And I will now present you this project through a small, and then we could exchange about it together. If you have any question, don't hesitate. I will now share my screen with you to show you the video. Okay.
Dear ARS ELECTRONICA visitors, please be welcome to my own fashion system reboot. My name is Elisabeth Jayot. I am one of the 10 artists having been awarded a European grant by the Re-FREAM project launched by StartsEu. I am a French perspective designer and an academic consultant working at the crossroads of fashion craftsmanship and digital manufacturing. In 2017, I created the studio Fragments Garments, which develops sustainable alternative scenarios and processes for garment longevity and user involvement. Doing research and development for a circular fashion future, I want to reconcile sustainability with the pleasure of trans renewal. Fashion and sustainability seem to live in two opposite space-time. In fact, the essence of fashion is change, when sustainability is based on durability. And constantly moving trends are now shown as the origin of the environmental disaster which makes our industry one of the most polluting in the world. I decided to take this paradox as the starting point of my work. Inspired by Gilbert Simondon's philosophy, I conceive garments as an open object with reusable and recombinable spare parts, just like your car or Lego kit. In nature, ability to morph leads to durability. That's the reason products I create are made to evolve. My seamless modular clothes can easily and quickly be manually assembled, dismantled, and transformed by the user with no special skills or machine to adapt it to trends, season, size, or changing needs. Those playful and fully laser-cut designs are accompanied by a new vision on the fashion supply chain for the circular economy. Relying on a cost-reduction fabless business model, the fast fashion brands design cheap and trendy products in their headquarters, outsource their fast-paced production in low-wage countries where regulations are less restrictive, but retain control over distribution through their globalized retail chains. To counter this harmful system, which causes important social and environmental impacts, I propose to relocate the clothing production inside Europe through a network of Fablab-inspired urban micro-manufacturing units called Fashion Fab Stores. I propose to invert the current paradigm by relying on the globalized trade of digital pattern design sold online as blueprints, with production and distribution gathered in fashion fab stores, providing local and on-demand production of customized and made-to-measurement modular clothing. Fashion fab stores would offer 4 areas dedicated to shopping, customization service, digital fabrication, and product cycling. Within the shop would be found ready-to-wear modular clothing, ready-to-be assembled kits, and garment spare parts to update existing products. The customization service would propose to personalize clothing by selecting fabrics in the local sustainable textile library. Digital fabrication would concentrate all the computer numerical control technologies used for production, and product cycling would be dedicated to reparation, upcycling, second-hand clothes and parts resell or swapping, as well as collecting and sorting damaged parts for recycling. Engaged on such topic, I logically joined the From Linear to Circular Re-FREAM challenge, for which I cooperated with the R&D textile company iTex and the sustainable dyeing specialist care applications, both in Hub Valencia. In Austria, I cooperate with the 3D printing expert Profactor in Steyr, as well as performed body scanning in Aratech and used the Grand Garage Fablab facilities in Linz. But facing borders closures, this long-dreamed 3 months co-creation came down to a 3 weeks rush, and the resulting global lockdown made me eventually end up with the longest ever face-to-face date with my computer screen. With no access to my atelier or to textiles or even to my working tools, this laptop became my sole creative headspace during the quarantine. So let me bring you on a tour. Together with my tech partners, we developed 3 modular clothing collections. For the first one, named B-Square, I reinterpreted the Dior iconic new look line with a high-waisted full skirt paired with an oversized crop top. These silhouettes have been entirely digitally conceived to avoid pre-production waste of paper, cardboard, and toile fabric. After optimizing the pattern placement to limit cutting waste, I prototyped a first wide version of the modular look. With Romano Campese, Carmina Ferri, and Belen Hinojosa, my colleagues from Care Applications, we studied the potential of implementing on-demand textile dyeing and finishing using the sustainable nebulization technique they developed, which allows using only the exact amount of water and product the garment can absorb without any waste. Named EcoFinish, this technology is provided by modular mechanical devices which are installed on existing machinery to be repurposed and optimized in a more sustainable and versatile way at a reduced cost. Depending on the process, this mist, replacing a traditional washing or dyeing bath, can save from 50 to 90% of water, from 33 to 90% of chemical products, and a total of 85% of energy. In Care's applications lab, we first proceeded with shrinkage tests to evaluate the more suitable fabrics. Then we tried on softening and waterproof treatments. We ended selecting 2 wools, a silk organza and a pinatex, a biodegradable material made of pineapple waste, all white, to be then on-demand dyed. We first combined red and yellow chemical dyes to find a perfect bright orange shade for the silk organza. Even if nebulization is a zero-waste process, I decided to move on to natural dyes. We experimented with acacia and Campeche trees powders, which gave a nice cream coffee and deep purple colors to wool and pinatex. To enhance the offer of on-demand dyes, finishings and laser-cut garments, I imagined, in cooperation with Elena Gillen at Profactor, customizable and reusable 3D printed clothing fasteners. We discovered that some of the inks used on the polyjet machine can be dyed by nebulization after printing. Fashion fab stores could thus propose different sustainable white fabrics and transparent printing inks to offer customization and at the same time reduce overstock and waste. As I aim at lengthening clothes' lifespans, in facilitating spare parts reuse, thus enhancing the transformation potential of clothes, it was fundamental to envision the product's second life and to explore upcycling possibilities. For this second collection, named 12 cm square, I started with collecting all remaining dismantled modules from previous experiments to be repurposed. Until now, I have mainly used end-of-collection fabrics rolls and leathers from luxury houses bought at dedicated Parisian resellers. But the small size of the zero-waste 12 cm square module created during the World's Partnership project last year led me to envisage using production textile cutting waste instead. Consequently, I dug into years of atelier fabric scraps. Once removed those improper for laser cutting, I sorted them by weight and color to create monochrome cameos, before joining them with the corresponding modules previously collected. Being waste resulting from old projects, every fabric had different measurements and sometimes awkward shapes, resulting from previous pattern cutting. Such pieces of information needed to be recorded before being in a position to imagine which garment could be made out of each fabric set, depending on total available yardage and material type. The bigger scraps were reserved for cutting archetypal parts such as collar or sleeves, when all the small ones were devoted to cutting basic modules. First proof of concept of this redesign practice, this very long code made of 9 different materials has been requested by a fashion curator to be displayed in an exhibition. At first, I didn't like the patchwork pattern I created by assembling the modules, so I fully dismantled it to remount the coat with this chevron pattern, creating an ombre effect, playing with the different material textures and shades. This initial prototype taught me that the main challenges of this approach were the limited amount of available material, which leaves no room for error and implies a very delicate stage of pattern placement, according to the weird shapes of fabric scraps, to maximize the textile use. Due to the extended number of different materials used in one sole garment, the time dedicated to machine settings test is lengthened. Previously, the machine was ordered to cut a bundle of 100 modules in doing one at a time. But Luca Capelli, my high-tech tech partner, told me that the machine would work faster by doing every diagonal one way, then the other way, then horizontals, verticals, and finally the border rectangle. As a result, I totally redesigned my cutting files to make them more effective. Relying only on a basic square module was limiting style options, so I developed 3 new modules: a triangular, pentagonal, and hexagonal. The first 2 ones are usually used as finishing part for hems, neckline, or pockets, when the latter is a classical constructive part allowing to create large voluminous skirts. At the outset, this collection was meant to include only jackets and coats, but playing around with the different modules, I ended up modeling also tops, skirts, and dresses, just by puzzle making around the mannequin. During the production phase, we protected the precious leather with a special high-temperature silicone tape to obtain clean, burn-free cuts. We cut all the parts required to create the 9 prototypes in only 2 mornings. I initiated a collaboration with French local and sustainable manufacturer Coco Enrico to continue this collection with their production cutting waste. Lastly, for the 3rd collection, named Into the Woods, I had the chance to collaborate with another Re-FREAM artist, Fabio Molinas, an industrial designer who has conceived materials made of cork powder, a waste of the wine stoppers production industry. During his Leather for Vegetarians project, he created with care applications a cork nebulization technique which has been here applied on the wool skirt. His cork leather has been used within the top among linen and wool cutting waste scraps from my atelier. In consequence, this earthy-toned, seamless and modular silhouette is fully biodegradable. After such an amazing set of cooperation and experiments, my next step would be to prototype a full-scale fashion fab store demonstrator next year. So stay tuned, follow us on Instagram, and don't hesitate to contact us if you would like to collaborate with us.
Thank you, Elisabeth. Super cool. So next steps, you said, can you tell us a little bit about your plans for the fashion fab store? What?
Yes, the idea is to create a space with all the tools, the CNC machines I use for my process. And I'm already in contact with the school in which I'm currently doing a master computational design and mechatronics. They have all of this material. So the idea is to do a cooperation with them and to be able to create a demonstrator, so has for people to be able to come in and to experience all the process. So to choose a garment, then to customize it, to take a body measurement, to adapt the garment to the body measurement of the customer, then to pick a fabric in the sustainable textile library. So with a small amount of fabric, but with a good sourcing, traceability, transparency on fabric suppliers, and with all the data information on material and location, production location. And I won't be able in this demonstrator to use the care application technology, unfortunately, but all the Re-FREAM project was about to show that maybe in few years we would be able to dye on demand the fabrics for the consumer. So the library would have only white fabrics, white basic fabric, and then the consumer would choose a color in a shade, and with the micronebulization technique we would be able to dye the basic white fabric only with the exact amount of water and chemical that is needed for the process, with absolutely zero waste, so in a fully sustainable way, even if we use chemical dye. So that's very, very important. We can also use natural dye with this process. I worked with acacia and campeche trees powder during Re-FREAM project, and it worked perfectly. The idea is then for the potential consumer, for the visitor of the demonstrator, to be able to assist to the laser cutting of the garment parts, and then to process on the assembly, help by someone, and help by the mounting information that are engraved at the same time as the parts are cut on the laser cut machine. So yeah, the idea is to showcase the process and to be able to get feedbacks from potential consumer, and to do a great exhibition. So normally it will be done in June 2021. So keep in touch and have a look on my social media to see the project moving forward.
So it's really, it's more than just a shopping experience, isn't it? It's a real learning experience for whoever is interested. Your consumer, as it were, is a pretty sophisticated individual who obviously is concerned with the planet. And the use of water, the use of materials, leftovers. What commonly people, or at least I've been told that many times people are unfortunately more concerned with the way the garment looks than actually its effects on the environment. So this of course for environmentalists and sustainable designers, this is a challenge.
Yeah, that's exactly the main challenge I wanted to address, because my conclusion in 2014, when I had my master's degree in fashion design, was that there is a lot of super small sustainable initiatives, various way to approach the sustainability problem, but at this time it was very difficult to gain the attention of the mass and to gain a real commercial expansion when I graduated. And to me, the main problem was the aesthetic and the fashionable side of the product, because you can have the best design product ever, which checked all the boxes of sustainability and traceability and ethics and social workers respect and so on. But if the consumer don't buy it, it's useless. So to me, all the project is about addressing the dichotomy between sustainability and the fashion time. Fashion time is renewal, it's trends renewal. And we like fashion because it's change, because it helps us to reinvent ourselves. It helps us to be playful with our look and to be different every day. So I think it's a component that is very, very important when you are a designer working in fashion. You need to take this in account. And that's the reason I put all my effort in modular design, because to me, modular design is a way to conceal the pleasure of trans renewal, the ability for the garment to transform, to adapt to size, trends, season, need changes of the consumer, but at the same time to keep the parts used until it's totally damaged. And when it's totally damaged, being sure that we have the recycling process that is available and collecting and sorting process to make sure it doesn't become trash. And that's the reason I'm beyond only product design. I'm totally into system design, and I'm thinking how can we rethink the fashion system for the circular economy in order to keep products in use, but at the same time making the user able to enjoy what's the pleasure of fashion is. And that's also the reason why I thought about different user involvement stage in this new circular fashion supply chain I was talking about, the small fashion fab store. The idea is that the first time you enter this fashion fab store, maybe you will just buy a classical ready-to-wear garment like you're used to when you are doing your shopping. So you will buy a garment that is already made, but this one is made with reusable and recombinable spare parts. So maybe after 6 months, the trends change or your size change. And then you can come back to the shop and ask for updating parts. For example, purple leather is fully on trends. So you can come and buy just a pair of pockets in this material to update your coat or jacket. And maybe next time when you will have like a birthday gift to buy, you will come back to the shop and buy a small kit to build for kids or for friends to build his own shirt, a very simple design, but still modular and still reusable. And like step by step, you became more accustomed to this process and to this seamless interlocking attachment system. Also, you learn how to dismount and remount your garment on your own, so you can become more creative and you can change the parts alone. And maybe the last step would be to go for a full customization service. So this time you will choose everything. You will choose digital design, that is sold as blueprints online. And maybe this design has been created by someone in Singapore or in the US. So you can still enjoy the world and globalized trade of fashion, and you can still enjoy discovering young designer from everywhere, but you don't have the impact of transportation, of the environmental cost of transportation, because what you buy is only a file, and this file is then used through computer numerical control technologies. So you can use parametric software to adapt the design to your measurement after you enter a body scanning cabin, for example, or someone just take your measurements in a very classical way. Both are okay. We don't need to be fully technologic on this part. And then the design will be produced in local produced fabrics. So the design can come from everywhere, but it will be produced with the material you have next to your place. So it's a way to mix local production, on-demand production, customized, made to measurement products with the pleasure of being able to wear amazing designer from everywhere. So it's really another way to envisage what the future of fashion can become. For the moment, it's a dream, but as I'm doing a PhD research on the subject, I've seen many small intervention around the world going in this direction or in similar direction, and I think it's something we need to research about and to prototype and to dream of, and that's the reason I continue on this project.
Yeah, there's there could be perhaps a new kind of consumer who where we take DIY to the next level, right? Where someone who is interested, especially even now in the times that we're living in, with more time at home or other ways to express creativity. I mean, up till now, to your point, at least with fashion, and the clothes we wear, mostly people are buying other people's designs, right? Things that have already been designed for them. And usually the people that you see wearing different things are fashion students or art students or people who are interested in showing their designs to the world. So this is also an opportunity for expression, right? For further self-expression.
Totally. The idea is also to come back to practices, old practices. Few decades ago, people were just sewing their own garments. They were creative and crafty, and they were doing it as they want and made to measurement and according to trends, inspired by trends, but with their own touch. And this project, the goal is also to take out the time-consuming part of the sewing process, because as a fashion trained designer, I learned in school how to sew, how to model, how to make patterns and so on, and that's a very, very long process. There is a number of steps to do in the right order that is very, very long, and it's super technical and complicated. And I think today people need things to be quick and easy, so that's the reason I went for seamless modular garments, and I created this interlocking attachment system that is almost like a puzzle. It's a puzzle garment that you can mount manually without any special skills or machine. And the goal is also, as you're told, to empower the consumer and not to be to stay a passive consumer, but to become a prosumer and to be engaged with the product. And also because it plays a role, to me, it plays an important role into emotional attachment to the product. If you customize it, if it's made to your measurement, if you choose the fabric, it's a special garment. It has your touch, and you put effort, and it becomes more than some t-shirt you bought for €5. So it's an important part, and I also want the project to stay really playful, because I think it's a good way to engage with sustainable product, to have something that is fun, and it's something, to me, the sustainability storytelling, it's sometimes too judgmental, and it tried to, yeah, I prefer to go through this subject with the way of play and exchange, and it's something also that it can be a social moment. So we can be all together doing a workshop of customizing garments and dismantling and playing with the parts and recreating new garments. And it's something that we can do with our kids at home, or with friends, to give advice and to have feedbacks. And so it's something I want the consumer to be more creative, but in a simple, easy and quick way. That's the goal also of the project.
And fun, of course.
Yeah. You've seen my glasses. Fun, it's mandatory in my life.
For sure.
I've seen a question in the chat. So yes, I'm working also with 3D printing. The spare parts of the garments are all laser cut in fabrics, but I use 3D printing to create clothing fasteners, so buttons, zipper, and so on. And the idea is for those clothing fasteners to be also dismantleable, reusable, and in a way that you don't need a needle and a thread. So it's really plug and play system, and you just put it through holes and it stays in place. And the research I did with Re-FREAM teach us that we can use the transparent ink used in the PolyJet 3D printer to create those clothing fasteners, and then once they are produced, we can dye them on demand in the same process we use for the clothing spare parts. So once the consumer has choose the color of the final garment, we can dye at the same time the garment and the clothing fasteners without using different 3D printing filament, and we don't need to have an extensive stock of different color of 3D printing filament. We just need one ink, and then it's the dye used for the fabric that will dye the clothing fasteners to have a full garment made in the same color. So yes, that's really new for me. It was the first time I worked with 3D printing, and it was a very, very interesting research we made with Elena Guillen at Fablabs during the Re-FREAM project. No, I don't use 3D printing as pieces of garments. It's a choice. There is a lot of designers working on the topic and doing amazing stuff. It's not my jam. It's not my style. To me, it's still not feel very comfy on the body. So that's the reason I don't use it for the moment. But I can use it as a reinforcement. My attachment, my interlocking attachment system is created with holes, so really thin lines that are laser cut in the fabrics. So I may use, for example, 3D printing to do a border around it, to seal the fabric, and to reinforce the attachments, or to create decoration on the fabric. But if I use 3D printing, it's on the fabric and not has a sole pieces, for the moment at least. But if you want to see amazing 3D printing garments, you need to watch the video, the presentation of Ganit Goldstein, because she works on the topic. She's part of the Re-FREAM artist, and she do amazing stuff, as well as Julia. What's her last name? David.
Tomasello.
Not Julia Tomasello.
Julia Kerner.
Kerner, yeah, thank you. So yeah, watch the work of Julia Kerner and Ganit Goldstein. Both are working on 3D printing, 3D printed garments, and they're amazing.
Yes, for those of you who are joining us who weren't in the last conversation, I'll just put the website, the Re-FREAM website, up on the chat. You can see, you can read more about Fragments Garments, about Elisabeth's project, as well as the other projects that she was just talking about, as well as the other finalists from the first round. And then also we have, it's the second call now is open till the end of this month for new applications from designers and artists. So if you think that this could be something for you, definitely have a look at the Re-FREAM website. Let me see, do we have any more questions? Any more questions from our audience? Okay.
So I'm currently writing you my email contacts and Instagram accounts. So if you have any question about Re-FREAM or about my project, or if maybe you want to cooperate or doing a co-creation project, anything, don't hesitate. Visit my website also, and I hope I've been clear and you enjoyed this little presentation with David. And don't hesitate to apply to the second call. It's an amazing journey to do this co-creation project. You will meet incredible technicians and scientists and discover technology you've never seen, and it's really, it's exciting. It was very difficult because of the COVID, so we had to work a lot remotely. It was challenging, but yeah, don't hesitate. It's worth it.
Lots of learnings, yeah. For sure. So Elisabeth, congratulations, an amazing project, future forward, keep going.
Yeah. I am. I'm finishing my PhD on modular design, and then I would like to be consultant on the question of circular economy, sustainability, and also, of course, how to use the technology in this purpose and not in the gadget side of it. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, you'll be able to share a lot, because one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, which I didn't really have time to today, which is a big topic, but is really how how to be sustainable while working with these technologies, and how to be able to work on an idea that you have, with, of course, a technology that is maybe not intended for the materials or the eco-design that you have in mind. So how to balance sustainability and eco-design with these technologies that are originally designed for other kinds of materials.
I think the main goal is always to have in mind what does mean sustainability. So it's like having a checklist in mind, and sustainability, it's avoiding useless waste, it's reducing everything, reducing what you it's to me it's the minimalist philosophy. So I used to say less is more, and simplicity is complexity resolved. So these are my two modules and baseline. And for example, for the Re-FREAM project, for the first time I created all the prototype digitally. Normally, I'm a classical fashion designer. I've been trained to do prototype with fabrics and to do a lot of pattern making on cardboard, paper, and those pre-production phases are waste consumer, so are material consumer. So if you choose to work directly on the computer from day one and to conceive all the shape and the pattern on a dedicated software, we will reduce this use of material. And then it's really important to think about energy, because all the technology, the CNC machines are working with electricity. So to reduce the energy consumption, you need to use the machine the quicker possible. So that's the reason also I worked with Luca Capelli from iTex to optimize my file, my laser cutting files, because there is thousands of ways to cut the same shape. And if you that was what I explained really quickly in the video. Previously, when I was cutting my square modules, it was cut one by one, so one square, another, like this. And if you do that, at the end, maybe it will take 30 minutes. But if you decompose the entire shape, the entire pattern that is created on the file, and you cut all the horizontal, then the diagonals, then the verticals, it goes way faster. And at the end, maybe you gain 10 minutes, and it will the laser cut machine will work only 20 minutes instead of 30. And that's a high number of watts of electricity that is not used. So that's all the things you need to have in mind. How can I reduce the material use? How can I reduce the energy use? And at the same time, maximize and optimize the product. So that's the balance. You need to have the better product with less. So that's always I spend all my time trying to optimize and make everything more efficient, and do the same thing with less. That's the process to be more sustainable too.
It's really when I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about fast fashion, it's really just two different worlds. The amount of thought that goes into what you're doing, it's incomparable to.
The balance is totally different. Fast fashion, it's more distance, more work power, workers involved, and less price. So we are doing everything possible to have the price the cheaper, but everything, it's a lot of kilometers, it's a lot of pain for workers at the end of the world, and it's not the equation I want to work in, for sure. The goal is to replace those guys, to give a very competitive and attractive alternative. That's the goal, because I think people are now ready, consumers are now ready to pay more for better product, better, more sustainable, more worker ethical, traceability, and so on. But at the same time, the product needs to be exciting, it needs to be attractive, it needs to be trendy, it needs to be seductive. So you may buy all the basics, like a classical jean, a white shirt, in a very sustainable brand, well made, and so on, and local maybe. But when you want like a purple fur coat, you go to fast fashion because they have it and it's cheap, and you know that you will wear it maybe 2 months, 3 months, a season, and then it will be outdated. So that's the reason I want to work in this tension and this paradox between trends, renewal, and sustainability.
Keep it up. Keep up the great
I
work.
will.
The world needs more people like you.
There is a lot of people like me.
Yeah.
The only problem is that we don't have the mic, because for my PhD thesis, I'm doing like a super extensive sourcing of amazing designers and creators and innovators that are all working in the same direction, making the fashion industry more sustainable. There are a lot of people like working their ass in this direction, but the problem is that we don't see them enough, or they don't have the financial help to make the project come true. And that's the reason Re-FREAM was an amazing push for my project. And yeah, go. Apply, all of you apply.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Elisabeth, so great to speak to you. Next joining us now, continuing, our last guest today is Yu-Yang Song, also with a very interesting project. I'm going to put the link for those of you who want to continue with us. 1 second, please. I'll just put it through. So you can just copy that link right there. And in 5 minutes, we'll be talking with Yu-Yang about cooking new materials. So Elisabeth, again, thank you so much. Best of luck, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening to me, and I hope that I've been clear. And if you have any question, don't hesitate to contact me, and see all the presentation, because the other artists are also amazing, and you're young also. Thanks, David. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.